All right, so this is my thoughts on Opus 4.7. I've been sitting down and trying to get better at it because compared to the previous models, I could just get by, right, without understanding it and knowing some of its quirks. But that is no longer the case anymore because it just does some stupid stuff now. Um, it the thing I liked about Claude was that it was pretty good at understanding user intent. I could get by being descriptive, but apparently that doesn't work anymore. So I had to be way more methodical. That's probably the big thing, the big shift with 4.7. You know, we could say, yo, this is a regression and blah, 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 and complain. I don't really believe in complaining. You know, just adapt. Just like, I mean, like, it hurts. You could, like, groan a bit, but, like, what we got to do is just adapt. What else am I going to do? It's either adapt or start writing my own damn code. And in regards to that, though, right? I mean, right now, open source models are not that level yet, right? But soon they will be. That's another thing. Eventually, you know, these open source models will be good enough where it's kind of like uh in between where I mean, I don't know. I haven't touched these open source models yet, so I don't know. Like for my projects, I mean, I've downloaded and I was gonna start using some local models, the one I can actually run, but I haven't gotten around to it because I was gonna use it for I don't know. That's for the reason I haven't used it. I messed around with some of the photo picture generation ones. The one I could run looked terrible. Then I tried one of the better ones, and that shit just my computer just froze and crashed. I could not run it at all. So I was like, "Oh, that's out of the picture." But like, I did install some of one local mod. I think it was like Quen. I don't know. I don't remember. Cause I did it one day and then I didn't go all the way through with it. Anyways, I got lost. But what I will say, what has helped me with Opus 4.7, and I would actually recommend because the thing, one of the most annoying things with information nowadays is, you know, I think it's already was shit, right? People only started using the word slop mostly because of AI has made the slop very obvious, but I think culturally we've been slop for a while now. Like movies, content, it's already been slop. But the amount that has been created and everyone already has some form of pattern recognition, right? Because and so we start seeing too much of the same, the same patterns. That's what makes slop, no unique patterns or anything. So what I'm trying to get at though is that I don't even know. I was just chatting. I'm lost. I got distracted. What I was gonna say was, um, oh yeah, information and data, right? Like for example, I'm trying to understand how business works, right? So I can make some money. Like I'm trying to demystify generating wealth. But there's so many fake gurus. There's so much BS information when it comes to business. So much BS on selling people the dream that it's tough to find genuine information, right? Like if I crack open a biology textbook, I know I'm gonna get information. If I open up like a developer, I don't know, let's say there's an API and you read the documentation or you read a manual, right? That to me is genuine information. You read it, you say, okay, this does this, I could do this. Okay, I just have to understand this, and then blah blah blah. That's genuine. But when it comes to, like, for example, business and making money, bro, they're like, bro, some of the books, I'm like, bro, why are you telling me about yourself? Why are you giving me your credentials? Why are you inspiring me? Why are you giving me these anecdotes? Like, it's so much BS in these books, right? Like, I think business is one of, like, the worst ones, especially with these gurus, bro. Some of these and then, but the worst part, right, is, I mean, I think it really started to set off with the crypto bros, but I mean, tech bros have always been a thing, but the issue though is that there are like tech bro larpers, right? And so I come across that tech bro larper content, and it's absolutely terrible, bro, and I hate it. I hate seeing it. Like, I made 25 billion this week with Cloud Code, bro. Like, and I'm using Cloud Code, and I'm like, I'm just making a face. I'm like, I am not gonna bother clicking. Oh, how I made blah 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 with this my automation engine. So it's like these tech bro larpers, whatever. So I have to take, and then it's like buzzword videos, and then I go in. I'm like, ugh, like, yeah, blah blah blah, right? But so I mean, I might have to dive into stuff just so I could find good verified papers. You know, maybe I have to look into, like, start learning some names or whatever. I don't know what's a good podcast. I don't know, but to one guy, I chatted all of that just to say I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry to, like, it took me forever to get to the point, but I do like Matt Pacock. I like his advice though. His advice I've been applying it, and it's been pretty good, right? Pretty good. Some of the stuff you know, I think one of the first things that I would definitely express is creativity in terms of you and the model interacting. What has helped me the most with Opus recently is I've been using his drilling skill, right? So basically, you're going to have Opus ask you a shit ton of questions, and then you're going to create a document or whatever. But you kind of have to do this now. Like, you have, like, Opus is so unintuitive in terms of, like, the user's wants or intentions, that you kind of have to sit down and get interviewed by the AI just so you two can reach a understanding. And the reason I have been having to do this is just because it's been doing things that is weird. Bro, it's so weird, bro. Like, it's so weird. Like, bro, I literally told it I told it what domains I want, like, how I wanted my domains, right? And and how I wanted the code base to be structured, because I wanted to do, like, by domains, right? But instead of doing what I asked, I have an entity component system in my file. First of all, it grouped up the domains, but the groupings didn't make sense. The files within the groupings didn't make sense. Um, some of the files, because the files were, like, grouped by component association, right? But like, they were grouped in together by, like, component association, but I don't understand what was, like, the logic with how it was grouped by component. Because, like, if we have a module, or if we think about, like, a jobs to be done framework, you know like, I'm just going off the top of my head, things that would make sense, but, like, it used some strange ass grouping logic, you know? it would use some strange ass grouping logic. Or the other thing that I found was, like for my game values, right? I would have type definitions and send some JSON because I don't want it to hard code any values because this is a game. And then I would go into because my plan is to go into the JSON and make edits, right? Well, I clearly told it this, but then, for whatever reason, it would make the type definitions, it would make the JSON files, right? And then it would hard code values into the function still. So strange, bro. So strange. So strange, bro. Um, so I mean, it definitely helped, bro. Like the grilling definitely helped, especially making like a PRD document as well. Definitely helped. So I would definitely recommend that. Right now I've just been going into the code base and just diving in and refactoring, asking questions, um, just asking questions and just rearranging the furniture, if you will. But that's all I gotta say, though. Like, I think the hooks definitely helped. Um, same thing with like the commands, having a hook with like a command as well has definitely helped. But I mean, I don't know, man. To me, that's a regression. Like if I have to start really diving into the dark. I mean, I guess you know what I mean. Like I could be complaining about Claude being lazy, but then it's also like low key. It's like I'm projecting because I'm technically being lazy as well because low key I might be out here complaining about the fact that I gotta go into the documentation now and read how this actually works because I'm not getting the expected output anymore. So, but I mean, after doing my due diligence though, it's not that bad though. Like, I mean, I would say for now it's not that bad though. I will have to update y'all because I'm refactoring the code base and I've been doing it chunk by chunk, just sending because it was also my own personal project, so I can just like spam Git or whatever. Because I also don't have like a what is it, one of those Git sites for like building it. Just gonna do chunk by chunk, make sure there are no regressions off each refactored chunk. Because the other thing is, I mean, like with games though, like from one thing I realized with games, man, what at the end of the day is a finished product that works 80%, not maybe 90, who knows, even if it's duct tape. If people find bugs, they'll tell you the bugs and you fix the bugs, right? It has to be at least in a decent playable state that a user can play the game end to end and at least be in flow, nothing game breaking. Like maybe definitely have like certain things that must work, like saving and stuff like that. But I mean, with some of these games, man, like yeah, you could talk about code quality and stuff like that. That's one thing, right? But what matters is though is a finish project, right? So if it's held together by duct tape, that's fine. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of one of the things we learned by seeing even Cloud Code's code base. But the one thing I will say, though, that at least in terms of a code base, it's kind of unacceptable, though, is if it becomes a labyrinth and you simply cannot make progress, right? Cannot continue making progress. I think the project is way too complex. But then the other thing, is also just figuring out there's like laws, right? Like one thing I had to really start figuring out, what do I consider a monolith versus what's not a monolith? Because I've read a philosophy for software design, right? Some people don't like it because it doesn't really apply in a workplace, but for personal projects, I think that book is really great. And so one of the concepts is a deep module, right? Which kind of like changed my perspective on monoliths because because I mean, listen, Claude, these LLMs, bro, they like to create these massive, long ass monoliths that do absolutely everything and anything, and it's terrible, bro. It's absolutely terrible. So it made me like avoid these long files. And so, you know, I've been wrapping my head around that. How would I group files? What does a deep module even mean? What does a deep module even mean in the context of my game? You know what I mean? So it's like, when it comes to software, and especially in personal projects, bro, like we be creating our own hell. It could be our own heaven, but also our own hell, bro. And all I can really say is that the more dread you feel opening up the code base, the project files, the more of a clear cut sign that you gotta go dive in there and make it less hostile. Um, so it's a learning process, and figuring out how to name everything. But I mean, I don't know. I've been chilling. It hasn't been too bad though. So that's all I can say. Definitely recommend Matt Cox skills. Definitely really helpful. And that's it. Bye.